Gulair, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind. On Slice 20 this week, I chat to the amazing Anne-Marie Guinan, star of Offaly GAA, podcasting, social media and radio. We chat everything from her PRO of the Year award, working with the likes of Midlands 103 and official Camogie Live, been labelled one of Ireland's young leaders 30 under 30, playing with Drumcullen, being Offaly vice captain, and what the world needs to know about the Brennan sisters. All this and much more with one of Ireland's and GAA's much loved personalities. But first, as is tradition on the podcast, let's take a trip down to Anne-Marie's county of Offaly and to the area around Drumcullen. Bon Sultas. This week we head from the southern county of Cork and the home of Tomás O'Leary and north through Tipperary and just across the border into the county of Offaly. The parish that Anne-Marie hails from takes in the areas of Lusmaw and Drumcullen, which are situated very close to both the Tip border and the Galway border. The closest main towns would be the likes of Birr and Banagher, home to St. Rynagh's. On the county level, we've explored Offaly history and football in Slice 15 with Offaly captain Anton Sullivan. But let's take a closer look into the hurling side of life in the faithful. Despite the formation of the county setup in the 1880s like most of the country, it wasn't really until the 1970s that the county took off in the hurling stakes, primarily due to a new incentive to back hurling in the so-called non-traditional counties. Indeed, it didn't take too long to get things going, and in 1981, Offaly won their first All-Ireland title at senior level. Incredibly, they would go on to win Leinster 9 times between 1980 and 95. However, for many in the GAA, not just in Offaly, it is the events surrounding the 1998 semi-final that are perhaps the most iconic. In what was year 2 of the famous backdoor system, Offaly took full advantage as they were gunned down by the Cats in the Leinster final by 5 points, with Kilkenny legend Charlie Carter notching 1-5 and a man named DJ Carey getting 2-1. Manager at the time for Offaly, Michael Babs Keating, took aim at his team, saying they were running around like sheep in a heap. 2 days later, Keating was gone and replaced by Michael Bond. Offaly defeated Ulstermen Antrim in the quarter-finals by 9 before entering a semi-final against Jamesy O'Connor and Clare. With the likes of Johnny Pilkington and the Dooleys on form, Offaly looked to take down the Bannermen, who were aiming for a third title in 4 years. Amazingly, just as Offaly looked to have snatched the win, a dubious free settled Clare down for a draw. And then the replay. Things started out bad before even getting on the pitch for Offaly as their bus got caught in the Dublin traffic. As a result, Clare rattled them early on, and with less than a quarter of the game to go, they trailed by double digits. But the call was simply, never say die. First Billy Dooley, then Joe Arity found the net, and the unlikely seemed not so anymore. And then it happened. The full-time whistle from Galway referee Jimmy Cooney. But there was a small problem.
That's away by Kevin Martin, not too far. Keenan trying to get it out. Barry Murphy trying to get it back in. This is the man. And the referee has blown up his whistle, but I think he's blown up before time. I think there are 2 minutes left.
And so born the famous Offaly sit-in on the Croke Park turf. Kildare and Kerry B footballers waited to play their All-Ireland final, which didn't happen that day. Clare manager Ger Loughnane was left in the awkward spot of not knowing whether to celebrate or not. Within hours, word was out that the GAA had ordered a third game between the two. 7 days later in Semple Stadium in Thurles, and this time under the whistle of Wexford's Dickie Murphy, Offaly saw off Clare by 16 points to 13, with some remarkable goalkeeping by Stephen Byrne, a key part of the win. Clare, littered with talent in the likes of Davy Fitz in goals, Brian and Frank Lohan, Shawnee McMahon, Ollie Baker and Jamesy O'Connor to name a few, couldn't find a way to overcome the Midlands men of Hannafy, Troy, Pilkington, Wheelahan, Duignan and others. Sadly for Offaly, 98's All-Ireland win of Kilkenny would be their last to date. The county has seen somewhat of a demise in the hurling success through a variety of reasons, but with new backing from faithful golfer Shane Lowry and improving systems, the county could once again find themselves at the top table of inter-county hurling, and who knows, maybe this time they will have a referee with a working watch to make it easier. County Camogie in Offaly goes well back to the early 20th century, where teams like Ballycumber, Muckla, Tullamore and Rahan competed with the two you will hear about in a while, Lusmaw and Drumcullen. Sadly, the Leinster final win in 1930 would be the only success for long periods due to the decline of the game post-World War II. Clare native Mary O'Brien is credited with revitalising the game in Offaly in the 70s, but with only one club, Tullamore, competing down in the Laois Championship, things looked gloomy. However, by the turn of the decade, fortunes had changed, and Drumcullen's reformation, along with the likes of Clara and Shinrone and Banagher emerging, the competitions began again. Clubs have come and gone in the county, but in modern times a steady core of teams has continued, including Anne-Marie's Drumcullen. In 1999, Offaly won the Leinster Junior title, their first in almost 7 decades. But it was in 2009 when the county's worth was proven with victory in the All-Ireland Junior final and a coveted spot in the ultra-competitive intermediate ranks. But it didn't stop there. A year later they were led to intermediate success by Shinrone and county legend Michaela Morkan. As a result of the growth, clubs like St Killian's and St Rynagh's now compete at high levels in Leinster on a regular basis and have made themselves very familiar to many around the country. On a side note, it is worth checking out the Offaly Camogie crest. It was designed as part of a competition and won by 11-year-old Caoimhe Ginty, the only current crest of a registered county jersey to have been designed through a children's competition. Good on you, Caoimhe. Drumcullen itself is also known by the name Eglish, as is the old parish name. The GAA club, like many, can trace back to near the early days of the GAA's foundations. In 1890 the club began under the name of Drumcullen, as it was the only region of the parish which had no inhabitants. The main history of the area surrounds a monastery built by St Baron, who was the second cousin of patron saint St Columba. St Baron's Day is May the 21st each year. Baron is said to have had a good relationship with Columba and travelled to the well-known Iona and as far as Iceland. Around the club you will find the main local areas of Kinnitty, Birr and Kilcormac. It's very much a hurling stronghold of the country, but had been very much a dual area until the middle of the last century. Locals often played hurling with another local team originally called Fortle, who won their one and only title in Offaly in 1898 before losing the next 2 in a row. The club also won a junior county football title decades later in 1973 against Cappincur. Drumcullen won their first senior title in 1908 over Ballinamere from outside of Tullamore. The home grounds itself is an interesting story. The field area was acquired in 1959 in a place called Rath on what was the old Thomastown estate. Ironically, an old map from the Ordnance Survey of Ireland dated 1828 had already marked the spot simply as Hurling Park, which would place it up there among one of the oldest in Ireland. Although it is nowhere near the original estimates of the first game in Ireland, said to be near Cong in Mayo around the 12th century BC, it is still old for the modernised ideal of a home venue. A century after the founding of the GAA, the club acquired new facilities and also their first ever covered section, the first in Offaly GAA grounds. Some of the original seats in 1999 in Drumcullen came from the demolition of the old Crow Park Hogan stand. Westmeath would be the visitors for the first game against Offaly in the ground's official opening in 1984. To date, Drumcullen themselves possess 17 hurling titles in senior championship, along with titles at minor, junior and intermediate levels also. Nearby Lismore is located across the way from Drumcullen. The club is extensively based around hurling and the small ball. Over the decades they have competed at every level from junior to senior. In 1989 the club won its one and only senior hurling title to date, as the men in the red and white captured the title under captain and goalkeeper Jimmy Troy. This made up in some ways for defeats of the past, including losing out in the 82 final. In more recent times the club has won 2 intermediate titles in 2012 and 15, with the latter leading into a run to the Leinster semi-final, only to fall at that hurdle against Glenmore Kilkenny, who boasted in their ranks the likes of Owen Murphy and Ger Aylwood, senior Kilkenny players, and men who by that stage had a couple of All-Ireland senior titles under their belt. Paul Kinsella would put in a stunning performance, notching 12 of the 13 points Lismore scored, but alas in the end they lost out by 26 points to 13. The referee that day was one Mickey Dan Murtagh from Westmeath. If you tune in next week you will hear his name mentioned again in a slightly more comical way. On the Camogie side, Anne-Marie and Drumcullen are pushing to get back out of the junior ranks after losing a relegation playoff to Kilcormac Clahy last September down in Kildare. However, the potential for success is there, as the club were 2015 intermediate champions and 2017 junior champions. Anne-Marie joined the Offaly ranks in 2012, aged just 16. Her father John was a Drumcullen goalkeeper himself. Drumcullen and Anne-Marie still hold the honour of being the most successful camogie club in the county with 14 titles, including a 3 in a row beating 3 different teams in those finals: Birr, Tullamore and Shinrone. Anne-Marie has become synonymous in Ireland with her work on social media, radio and elsewhere, including working on the Sports Girl podcast and her own page, guaranteedanmarie.com, which she owns. Midlands 103 and official Camogie Live would have been some of the places you may recognise the Drumcullen Camogue from. In more recent times, Anne-Marie has moved to the UK for her work with Future Ticketing, but keeps us updated on her change of scenery on Instagram. Hopefully it won't be too long more before we get to see her back on the camogie field for club and county, and back behind the microphone once again soon. And so to the lady herself, Drumcullen and Offaly star, Anne-Marie Guinan.
Hello.
Anne-Marie Guinan, Future Ticketing, how are you?
Will I take it off it?
No, it's grand. No, it makes no odds at all, no. How are you getting on?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad, yeah. The first thing I've kind of asked everybody who's come on, and everyone I will ask, is who were your major influences growing up, locally or otherwise, for the GAA?
I suppose my club is Drumcullen, so we have the most senior titles in County Offaly. So when I grew up, my senior team, I started playing senior when I was 12, so you were allowed to play really young. So I joined an adult team extremely young, and when I went training, the standard of commitment was second to none. I genuinely think no one else was doing it. Like, it's very common now because everyone gives 100%. But back then, I don't think everyone was doing that. So there was so many. I could easily say my whole team growing up was role models to me. There was 3 Corcoran sisters, 2 Nugents and their mother. It was such a family affair. But someone who really did look out for me and always gave me great advice was Elaine Darmody. So she is one of Offaly's senior
bit of a legend, yeah.
She's one of the most talented people I've ever seen play camogie, but also, if not the cleverest player I have ever seen with the ball. She knows exactly where everyone is. She knows exactly what every person is going to do. So growing up with her being extremely young, she often even took me under her wing and would have said, when I do this, you do this, or when she does that, you do that. And of course it helped me. Like, I was only a youngster, so I listened to everything she told me to do. And then when she left me, I was heartbroken when she retired from the club scene. Because you felt a little bit like your right arm was gone, that there was someone that was silently in your ear, encouraging, telling you what to do. But yeah, she definitely would have been a massive influence for me growing up.
Yeah. Is there much of a GAA background in the Guinan family, or?
My dad played Junior B in goals. So there's 4 in my family. There's myself and my 2 brothers. So Kieran plays, Thomas doesn't. Kieran is quite handy. He was the captain of the Celtic Cross Offaly team that won a couple of years ago. I think it was the first year actually it started. He was the captain. So it's just myself and Kieran that will be hurling advocates in the house. My granny loves it, but she never played. I've been told my grand-auntie Bridie has been a very, very talented camogie player, and her granddaughter Charlotte will be a very good player as well. So I think we kind of pick it up from different places, but not from Dad anyway.
That's good. Yeah, no. I've had a few people say it tended to be mostly dad, and then one of the lads just went, "Oh, my dad wouldn't beat it out of his way, like so is my mother," you know. So it's nice. Yeah, it's a mix in the family. So you guys actually, I think you guys did the 24-hour runathon recently, wasn't it, with for Jigsaw as well? How did that go for you?
It was really good. It was a fundraiser. Obviously in camogie we don't have access to the funds like GAA teams, so we needed to do a fundraiser, and plus it's one thing that's probably overlooked is because of the limit of crowds at games last year, that obviously means county boards, in particular camogie rather than GAA, will have access to funds. So our new manager, Susan Erner, came up with the idea of 24-hour marathon, and it was such a clever idea. There wasn't a lot of organising to it. It was a GoFundMe page, and then every player had to pop up some videos and posts, which is normal because your phone is in your hand 90% of the time anyways. And it was a really good idea. So I unfortunately got one of the graveyard shifts. I got half 1 to 2.
Jesus.
So I ran up the main street of Tullamore. So I ran from my boyfriend's house, which is just a little up the road from Tullamore Hospital. So I ran from there up through the street, Tullamore, in the middle of the road. There was no cars, there was no one, which was crazy because 12 months ago, you probably would have got it.
Yeah.
You would have heard bags of chips after running up the main street. But yeah, we met 2 cars and they just went into the square, went on their way, and we ran back. But it was crazy. When I ran out, I was fine. And then kind of when I ran back, my body was like, what are you doing to me? It was like that feeling, when you get up to go to the airport in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And your brain is just all muddled and you don't really know what's going on. But my legs were like that. They were like, why? And then when I got into bed, my whole body, I don't think GAA will ever be a nocturnal game anytime.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it yet. You mentioned actually Susan Erner there. She's an all-star and probably even as impressive. She's a Puck Fada champion. What do you expect her to bring to Offaly?
Yeah, so Susan came into our squad last year, just kind of between all the different games. So her first game with us was actually against her native county of Galway. She did some interviews and she said that was quite strange being up the line away from the Galway management rather than being near it. But she played originally for Aircourt, that was her club. But when she was with us, she's extremely intelligent. Like her drills are all very match-based for your opposition as well. So I was really impressed when we started to get to do some training with her. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get back training yet with her. But, everything is structured, everything is in place. I need to go and slag her. I never got to get her by herself. That Drumcullen Lusma Drumcullen is our club. But would have played Aircourt so many times in challenge games. She would have been cursing me from the goals, and I would have cursed him back for stopping the shots. So I'd say she might either, I don't know, maybe she just didn't know who I was at the time growing up, but we used to have great rivalries when we were playing each other.
Yeah, that's a good one. I suppose I was kind of asking on the fact that with COVID kind of wrecking everything, I suppose, had you really seen the best of what she can bring to you? But obviously she's made a big impact already by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think every manager has to adapt, and they're probably struggling a little bit with what they can do. In particular, it's probably more difficult for new managers because they haven't had the opportunities to make their mark, or it is a quite daunting task to go in and face 30, 35, 40 people, capture all of their attention and capture the buy-in to do everything that you want them to do because you want to be successful. That is a difficult task. But Susan has been incredible so far. We get our plans every week. We text her, we give access to so many different people and backroom teams. And it's just encouraging. It's great to know that someone is there and that cares on the phone. And then hopefully we'll just get back doing some hurling with other people.
Yeah, she sounds very like I was talking to three of the girls from the Crisserlaw team up in Cavan, the Camogie girls, and they were saying how Jimmy Greville used to essentially babysit them, for want of a better word, when they went out, and that everything was kind of there for them. It sounds like that she's sort of on a similar path. When you mentioned actually the backroom stuff, you've had the chance to work with Jessica Barr, I think, at one stage, didn't you? Sports psychologist from the famous Barr family. What was it like working with her? Because she's pretty top notch.
Yeah, well, I suppose to just give it some context, up until maybe 4 years ago, inter-county camogie teams had very little funding. They had to fund themselves. and then we got access to a women's GPA grant. So the women's GPA grant gave us, it really, it does, there is a figure on it, it's €9,000 of a grant, but to us as players it's unlimited opportunities, because all of a sudden we have access to pitches, physios, sports psychologists, nutritionists, and people, strength and conditioning coaches, people that we may have never been able to afford prior to that. So in year 1 I don't think we had a sports psychologist, but then in year 2 Jessie came in, and it was really interesting to kind of acknowledge the way that our brain works. So when the scenario is you're in training and you're not very confident at catching a ball or catching a high ball, and the ball comes to you, and in your head you say, don't drop it.
Yeah.
Don't drop it. And straight away, by saying don't, you're putting a negative analogy into your head. So all of a sudden your body is becoming restrictive, you're nervous, rather than telling yourself, catch the ball. So you're going from don't drop it to catch the ball. And it's kind of that sort of stuff at a basic level we started initially with, on how we can train our brains to look differently, have a different perspective on things in games and ourselves as players. And then as the year went on, and the years, we had it for 3 years, how we react to certain situations. So when you're losing, how do you react? Do you drop your head or do you keep going? And if you needed a one-on-one session with her, you could do that with her. And I did that a couple of times. I just found her incredible. And during that time frame, I was naturally a forward and I was asked to play as a back. So I was going through that struggle internally in my brain, terrified every time the ball was coming in. And then all of a sudden I found myself going from cornerback to fullback. And maybe it's just country people, but every hurler or camogie player in the country would imagine this big 6'3", 3 foot wide, full back, pull strokes, pull the ball out of the air, pull the person out of the way. And here's me, 5'5", 1 foot wide, not a very aerially strong player, put in front of a goalkeeper, and terrified every time the ball came in, absolutely terrified, because I knew the stakes were so high if I made a mistake. And it was those sessions that I had with her that completely changed my mindset, and became where I could become a more confident, comfortable player in front of the goals. And because I was adapting my mindset from being similar to don't catch it, don't mess up, to you have this, you will get this ball. So yeah, she's an incredible woman. She talks so much sense. She's one of the most articulate people I've ever hear speak. She just can communicate on an extreme level. I have great admiration now for her. She's amazing.
That positive, reaffirming the positive, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose as it been in the classroom and at the moment, during COVID, I'm constantly having to try and reaffirm the kids' positive attitude as well. So yeah, she sounds incredible. Yeah, I've only read little bits and pieces on her. I suppose since you mentioned, actually, I was going to ask as well, where is your kind of preferred position? Are you still the 5'5", prefer to be at fullback, or would you rather be up the other end?
Oh, I would prefer to be up the other end, if I'm honest. Yeah. I live to be a forward, I think. I always was a forward up until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I went in cornerback. Now, I do have to say I did enjoy cornerback. I had a great bond at the time with my full back line of Sarah Walsh and Trina MacDonald. The three of us were on an amazing hymn sheet. Genuinely, we called each other out, we encouraged each other. Like, we were brats. We were actually brats on the field, like just sneering and that's it, Sarah, you have her, yeah, she's in your back pocket, just non-stop. We were terrible. We were just thick as thieves in the full back line. And then kind of things got moved around. We got moved around again and got moved around again. So we haven't been back together. I'd say the two girls, though, would love for us to be back together as well, because we were just brats. But yeah, I love half forward line. I really love being in the full forward line, but patience. It's just way
Yeah.
Is a kid.
Yeah.
Really.
You're waiting for that 80-yard ball over the top to hopefully land at you so you can knock something. Yeah. Oh no, that's good. Yeah. It sounds like you could still take the full back position though fairly easily as well. So I'll come back to the Offaly bit in a bit. How did the media work come about? I know you were the PRO of the year in 2018, and did it kind of just was it always something you were interested in, or kind of did it just come about in a different way?
No, it definitely came about in another way. When I was in school, I was doing my leaving cert, and my mum died when I was very young. So I was going to the guidance counsellor, and just the secondary school, St. Brendan's Secondary School, offered grieving counselling if you had lost someone when you were younger. So it was quite it was a really good opportunity. So when I was with the guidance counsellor, she mentioned that she thought social care would be a great course for me to do. And, you know, having gone through it, that I would be able to relate to kids. And in hindsight, thank God I didn't. I genuinely don't think I would have been a good social worker. But what happened was, in the same year, we were playing for Offaly, and I was the captain, and we got to the under-16 All-Ireland. Sorry, this was fifth year. We got to the under-16 All-Ireland final. And in the lead up to that, Will O'Callaghan, who works for Midlands 103, was a lot of our games. So we met him a couple of times, and we did interviews in the lead up to the game. And it was just a remark that my auntie Marguerite passed. She just said, why don't you look into doing like radio? Like, she's like, you were in front of the radio and you seem so comfortable talking. Why don't you just look into it and see, is it something that you'd be interested in? So I did. And I came across the degree I did, which was Media and Public Relations in IT Carlow. And that course is kind of like an arts course of media. Like, it covered so much. Like, we did video, we did radio, we did PR, we did kind of writing or articles, and it just covered so much. So when I was in that course, I was actually working for Midlands 103 when I got into that course, maybe about 6 months in. So I became the producer of the Sunday sports show, The Inside Line. And you probably know Will O'Callaghan. His mind, he has brilliant knowledge of every sport and every accolade that every player has had. So I was lucky enough to work alongside him and learn so much from him. So I worked there for, must have been 4 or 5 years. But during that time as well, the Offaly Camogie PRO position became available. So Carmel Carroll, who was the treasurer at the time, rang me and said, look, would you be interested? And I said, yeah, why not? And I am someone who always strives for more. So what was the PRO criteria, I all of a sudden find myself kind of dipping into other elements. So I was getting sponsorship, I was doing campaigns, events. So I kind of found myself in every aspect of PRO, and it was a great experience. The reason why I gave it up was because I'm not finished yet. I want to go back to that role. So you can only do a role for max 5 years in a row. So I want to go back to that. But it was incredible. Like, the goodwill that's out there for people or from people is incredible, whether it be club scene or inter-county scene. You know, people would ring and they would say, when are you doing your finals? Or, yeah, I'll sponsor that, no problem. And, you know, they genuinely don't really look for anything back. They just want to be involved in camogie, or they might have relatives that are involved and they just want to see women in sports thriving. So yeah, it was kind of a mixture of those things, between volunteering and then my course and working. But you still use my media degree and kind of the experience I've had in every day. It's kind of the world I live in.
Yeah. Do you enjoy? I know you're pretty good on the stats and stuff. Is the statistics and info side, is that something you're big on? Because I'm obsessed with it. Is it something you just kind of comes with the job, or is it something that you're naturally kind of interested in?
Probably a little bit of both. I think if you're investing your time into anything, you need to also look at your results, or look at the stats or the figures. You know, you always need to scale and look at what you're doing, and is it worth the time, or is it worth the project that you're or the time or the energy that you're putting into anything. So it's kind of a bit of both.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, no, it's I love the statistics myself. You were made I suppose come back to Offaly, you were made the vice captain in 2019, the senior team. How do you find coping with the Brennan sisters on your team? Because I would be fairly familiar with them. So how do you cope with them?
Yeah. The Brennan sisters are incredible. I have to say the three of them are incredible.
They're nuts.
I played with Rachel. I played with Rachel and Aisling in secondary school. And then obviously as we got older, Ciara has joined in. But they're just such gifted hurlers. Like, you know, you kind of feel sorry that they're camogie players, that people can't actually see how talented they are. Incredible. Like, they're the backbone of their club. Ciara is one of the fittest people I've ever seen in my life. She would run all day nonstop. Nonstop. But yeah, they're nuts. Put a drink in front of them, they're nuts, even more nuts.
the last time I saw them was with COVID and stuff, was July 2019, and the last thing when I said good luck to them, they were standing on the edge of Bagot Street, and the three of them were begging their mother to go to Coppers. That was the last time I saw them. So, yeah, I haven't chatted to them in a while because of COVID and stuff. But I just sat there because I'm like, I'd be half afraid of them because I reckon they'd kill me. If the three of them at a hurl, I reckon I'd be dead. Like, they would literally batter me. I'd say they are they seem fit. Yeah. When you were made the vice captain, then what? Did you have to take up any extra responsibilities, or was it just a brilliant honour for yourself and kind of, you know, the result of all the great work over the years?
Kind of a bit of both. I was really honoured to be joint captain with Jean McDonald. She was actually the fullback and I was the cornerback. So that was. So it was a great honour. I suppose that year was quite difficult. We struggled to retain players massively that year. So for a variety of reasons. So we had to knuckle down and try keep players on the squad. So it was quite difficult. We had to do a lot of ringing around and try to encourage players to keep coming, to take attendance for training.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was. So it's a terrible thing for me to say, but I don't look back on my time as joint captain very fondly.
Okay.
But I know that so many other people have a greater experience of being a joint captain. And I hope one day I will too have a better experience of being a joint captain. But yeah, of course, there is a lot of extra responsibilities when you become one of the leaders on your team. But yeah, like I'm honoured that I got that opportunity, because there is players on my team that I know that haven't got the opportunity and they stop playing pretty soon or have stopped playing. But I don't look back on that year very fondly, no.
And what about club level then with Drumcullen? You guys were 2015 junior champions, then 2017 intermediate, but then Kilcormac Killahy did a bit of a job in the relegation. Then what do you need to do to get back to the top?
Yeah, like so Drumcullen has won the most senior titles in Offaly. And then maybe about 6 or 7 years ago we had to amalgamate with Lusma, just inside Banagher. So we became Lusma Drumcullen. Sorry, it's not an amalgamation because we haven't been disbanded. It's
just a joint to become one club, kind of.
There's so many, oh my god, the ins and outs of all those different rules is crazy. I didn't actually know, like, it's so strict. So we joined with Lusma, and the first year we won intermediate, but it was kind of the structure that year was crazy. It was like, if you get to the quarterfinal and you lose, the two losers at the quarterfinals were in an intermediate final. So you could, I think after that year we lost all our matches and then won an intermediate quarterfinal.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I know. And poor Kinney that we played have beaten someone along the year, and they were obviously kicking up stick because they had won a game and lost the intermediate final, and we had lost all our games. And then I think Elaine actually scored like a long range free that was a goal that in the last couple of minutes to win that game. So it was kind of feel like robbery. And then the following year we won junior. So structure kind of in Offaly every year always changes. We kind of have a couple of, we're a bit like the All-Ireland Camogie Championship. We have 3 or 4 very strong teams, then 3 or 4 the same standard, and then we have 1 or 2 that are quite weak. So then after that, we haven't been in any finals or anything really since we last year.
Other than a relegation one, I suppose.
Last year we what happened that? So we played all our games last year and we lost all of them, but we were so close to Shinrone in the quarterfinal. We were winning at halftime. It was the best performance I had seen. Like, our team is extremely young. There was one girl older than me playing, and I'm 25, and then everyone else is younger. Like, we're extremely young. And I think even this year I could be the oldest one on the team. So we played really, really well. And what I still think about it, that I scored a goal and it was disallowed. And then apparently a couple of weeks later, the referee told someone that it was actually under the bar, not over the bar. I don't know, but
was there no nets? No,
there was. I kick myself regularly that I didn't kick up an absolute stink. If I ever score anything like next year, I will be adamant every time. I'll be telling the referee 10 times, that's over, that's over, that's under, that's under. I don't care. I'm never letting it happen again. So then we got Kilcormac and they bet us, and then we got them again and they bet us. So we're kind of, we don't really know what's happening at the moment. The county board are restructuring the competition, so we don't really know for relegated. Which I think really, it's crap. It's crap if we had to play a relegation final and not be relegated. And I mean in the best sense that we were all crying when we lost, because we know that we're a senior club and we set out to be a senior club, and we were so disappointed that our best wasn't good enough, essentially. And we came back to my house and we had a couple of drinks and we messed and laughed, and we had to go then back to the drawing board this year. So it's quite difficult as a player in any circumstance to go from losing a really important game from the year previous into a new year and try motivate yourself, especially if you get relegated. It's quite hard. Like, if you win or get to a quarterfinal and get knocked out, like that's a positive. So if we aren't relegated, I will be a little bit disappointed, not disappointed, but a bit upset to go through it, the hardship and the heartbreak going through that after a game. And then potentially not be relegated. But fingers crossed we're not. And then
even the psychology part, like you're gearing yourselves up to push to get back, whereas if you're then told, oh, well, actually, you're not relegated, you're like, oh, we have to kind of restart all over again because it's going to be different opposition. You're gearing up for something totally different. So is there any chance of them making a decision on it? Or you need a good PRO in that county? I think that's what you need, isn't
it? We do. No, Alan Harris is brilliant for PRO. I do. It's great. But no, we don't have a decision yet. But I suppose to look at it on a different angle, we will now start from scratch. So we have an opportunity to start as an underdog and then come back and it's beside his bed. Sorry. My family.
Bring him in for the chat.
My family believe that when I work, that it's in the drawer beside his bed. Like, they just open the door, Amory, stand at the bottom of the stairs as loud as they can. Amory, and I'm like, when the door is shut, the door is shut.
That's brilliant. I think he wants to chat. Bring him on there for the crack. He probably wants to talk as well.
That's the brother that doesn't talk, or that doesn't heard, so he wants to talk.
Fair enough.
But I just working from home. In the last couple of months, I just feel like they think I don't physically work. I sit up here and look at the computer all day and do nothing.
Join the club. Yeah, it's you spend double the amount of time you would in the classroom sitting talking to a screen, and then you go online and you read that, oh yeah, we're doing nothing at home, and yeah, so I know all about it. Yeah, it sounds familiar. I have to talk about the travel as well. You're big into the travel, like myself. Where's your favorite destinations, I suppose?
Or
where's next? Where's next on the list, really? Well,
my favorite destination is LA. I regularly think about LA. Oh my God, it's just it's electric. The atmosphere, the color, the culture, the people. It's just different. Like, it's just so different to Ireland. And obviously it's a city. Like, I live in a rural village. So it's incredible. And then when you watch like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or Cecil Hotel, you see that you're so close to these places. So it's kind of like little reminders every now and again. Where to next? I really want to get to Australia, but obviously the borders are closed. My boyfriend's brother and his girlfriend are out there, and they're out there the last 2 years now in July, and we haven't got out to them. So we do owe them a visit. But I'd love to go like around Bali and all those islands around there.
They're lovely
as well. Yeah, a lot of people do them for like 6 weeks or longer. So kind of have to have your wits about you and ready to go if you're going for that long. I don't know if I'd be able to live in the bag for 6 weeks.
I would have thought the same. Like I'd still be a real home bird at the same time, but my wife would rather live on an airplane. So we started in Burma, and then it was Burma to Indonesia, the Philippines, Borneo, and it was like 8 weeks. And I wouldn't be great to live out of a bag, but you kind of get used to it in some ways. It's a funny place, Bali. It's lovely, but Bali is in many ways was my least favorite part of Indonesia, because all the other parts outside it are just unreal. I'd probably, nothing against Bali, it was still absolutely cracking. But I'd go back there last, probably out of. It's essentially, as my cousin from Australia says, it's basically their version of going to Spain on holidays for Australia. They just go to Bali because it's like it's basically their version of Spain, as he says. So but no, definitely
to so much like publicity, unlike the other islands. That's why people know it.
Yeah, and the other ones are likely to have an earthquake and blow up at some point, I'm sure. So a few of them nearly did. What would be is there a standout night of celebrations or week of celebrations that you can remember from particular games or finals or anything? I've had some cracking story. Actually, the Westmeath girls, when I speak, you were talking about raising money for trips away and stuff. The Westmeath girls spent most of the time arguing whether it was Marbella or Malaga that they went to, and because they couldn't remember. So that sounded like the best week of their lives. Is there any particular celebrations you can remember?
Oh God, there's a couple. I just wish I had more. I wish I had one more to have more celebration stories. Some of the nights are just mad. Like when you think of them, like when we won county finals, like I was completely underage and girls were standing in front of the bouncer and you were running into the pub behind them, which obviously won't be allowed now, but at the time there was just so much fun. I suppose with our club then, when we won the junior, I was joint captain, and a couple of us said for the crack we'd go on the beer drinking, like the way lads do, really. The lad wins county final, you never see him from one end to the week. Now we didn't do the week, we did 3 days, I think it was. So we won the county final, we went out the night of the county final, and the next night we went up to Guinan, which is our local pub, which is closed at the moment, obviously. But it was only a couple of us. It was myself, Laura Darmody and Emer Darmody. And Emer was a teacher, and Laura was a student in Limerick. But we bullied Emer into staying out with us, Emer and Laura's sister. We bullied her to stay out with us and go to Melba's. And we went to Melba's and bar, and there was no one in there. I am not messing. The three of us were in, and we stayed in a little section in front of one of the small bars. So the whole place was empty. But we Oh, it was mean. Like, we just bullied her to stay out, and she hated us, and she did handstands and the whole lot, and now this is. It sounds very innocent, but it was just funny because it was the three of us. But then one of my best memories ever playing from Offaly was about 2 years ago. We played Cork, and we came on the bus home from Cork. We got absolutely hammered. We were never as bad. I think it was like 6-25 to 3-2 or something. It was crazy. And
you got hammered on the pitch. Sorry. Okay, yeah.
And hammered on the way home as well.
Right.
We stopped in a Tesco, and the bus was just full of drink, and we laughed and messed the whole way home and played games. And then we landed into Birr, and all the gear bags were just packed. Whoever had a car in Birr, all the gear bags were just packed in the car. And we walked down then into town. So we always end up in Wheelahans for some reason, whatever it is. I'm sure.
Good hurling family.
Yeah, when you end up in Wheelahans, then you're on the bar and you're on the tables, and there's like, you meet all hurling strongholds, and everyone is just messing and laughing. And but it was just then like some of the just bits and pieces that I can remember, like Roisin Egan disappeared for about 2 hours, and she came back, and she had gone home and come back and got changed and drank a naggin of vodka. There was another girl who crazy, when we went for burgers, she was like trying to order a burger without a tomato, and she couldn't say the word tomato because she was so drunk. And there's these big concrete balls in Birr. If anyone has ever been to Birr, these artistic concrete balls, and sure, you're drunk, God, they are hurdles. Like, you run your best and you run over them, and you're on them and you're jumping off them and the whole lot. And but anyways, Roisin and my friend Eleanor Glendenning is one of the maddest people I've ever met in my life. Actually, I'll tell another story about her in a second.
Yeah,
but there's a video of Ellie and Roisin in the chippers, and poor Roisin is choking, and Ellie is laughing, talking to someone else, but Roisin is nearly dying. And the people are absolutely cracked, like when you get to them, but it's brilliant. That are here down. Oh, they're all cracked.
Yeah. What was another story did you say about the other girl? Or?
Oh, Ellie. Oh,
yeah.
I don't know if she'd kill me, but
sure, look.
we went out in Tullamore. It was last year. It was just one of the nights before lockdown. It's kind of the start of the league. And we went out in Tullamore, and we told Ellie we'd be in. Oh God, the name of the pub has gone out of my head now. It's the one in the middle of the square in Tullamore.
I should know.
Phoenix.
My mother used to work in the laundrette there. I should remember. So.
No, it's the Phoenix pub, and we went in at maybe, say we told Ellie we were meant to be there at 11, but we were out in Sarah Walsh's house, myself, Christine Cleary, Maria Teaton, and sure, obviously everyone knows pre-drinks get out of hand, and you laugh and you mess and you drink a little bit more, and you're always late when the crack is good. So we ended up getting into town about 12 o'clock. So when we went in, we rang Ellie, and she was like, I'm actually outside in the car. So she'd been sitting there since 11 o'clock waiting to come in. We'd forgotten all about her, and when she came in, she just goes, oh no, and we were like, what? And she was looking down at her feet, and she had a pair of flip-flops on her. She was meant to change her shoes before she came in. Obviously she ran out of the house in the flip-flops and brought the shoes in her hand. So she ended up going out in Tullamore for the whole night in the flip-flops. Oh my God, I don't even know how to get in. I don't know how a bouncer even let her in.
Not ideal for the dance floor. Yeah, definitely not.
No.
There's some cracker stories. That's brilliant. Yeah. The last question, and then there's a quick fire round if you want to have a go at it afterwards. A bit of crack. The last one, which is the most vital question of all that I've asked everyone, is: have you won anything in the club lotto?
No, and my daddy is a lotto seller.
Right.
So I don't know how that works, but I should be winning every week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had my first winner actually recently enough. Zach Maradi, you probably know. Zach, yes. Zach, the Leitrim man himself, won $4,500 in his Dublin club. Thomas Davis GAA won $4,500, and apparently second time split another $7,000. So I've had two winners, and both him, which is a bit bizarre. So I'm still waiting to find. Actually, the best one I got. One of the girls won a sheep. That's my favorite one. She won a sheep. Yeah,
a sheep.
A sheep.
A raffle.
Yep. Yeah, she won a sheep. That's my favorite one. Yeah. So if anything tops that, I'd be delighted. So if you want to try the quickfire round, and then I can let you go. I'll stop taking up all your evening. So quickfire round is not it's maybe not as quick as I thought it was, because I had I had a lot of people going, let me think about that one. So let's see how it goes anyway. Okay. What's your favorite ground you've ever played on?
Oh, my own club. I just we really get to play there because of home and away. But every time we get to play, I just love it.
Class. Your least favorite ground?
The Rag in Tipperary. It's so narrow. It's so heavy. The grass is always long. It's just a fortress for Tipperary. It's hard to beat them there.
That's funny. You're the second person to mention that, actually. And neither of you from Tipperary. If you had to pick one travel destination, where would it be?
Ooh, good question. I'd like to go to Switzerland.
Okay.
Really like to go to Switzerland. The mountains and the parks there look incredible.
You could go to Germany and it's half the price, and you still get all the nice mountains as well. So, would you be more short puck out or long puck out?
Long.
Okay.
Get it down the field.
I've had that a few times as well. As a supporter, would you prefer the tea and the ham sandwiches from the car, or the pre-match pub?
The tea and the ham, I think. The pre-match pub is gone unless you live in Tullamore.
Yeah.
I think Tullamore is laid out perfectly to do that. You can go to the Eugene's pub at the top of the town, and then you can walk in. All the Dubs do it. When you look at the Dubs coming down, they get the train, they walk into the town, they get the drink, they go to the match, they get the drink, and then they train home. Perfect.
Yeah.
But when you go to your own games, that's kind of more difficult.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Yeah. You have a choice of one. The famous GAA one: hats, flags, scarves, or headbands. You can pick one.
Hats, scarves, flags, headbands.
Headbands. Okay. Marty or Des?
Marty.
Okay. Gerlach Nan or Davy Fitz?
Oh, that's tough. And that's tough because when I think about them, I just think of Connor's sketches.
Yeah. Connor's brother lives basically beside me here. So, yeah.
Oh, probably Gerlach Nan. Actually, no, I'm going to take back Gerlach Nan because he called Offaly hurlers fat. So, no, it'll be Davy Fitz.
Okay, I'll go with that. Who's your favourite pundit on TV, male or female, in any sport?
Oh, that's quite difficult. That is quite difficult.
I've had a lot of answers actually for that one from every sport under the sun now. So
I like Shane. Now his name's gone out of my head. Oh my god. It's not terrible. I actually can't think of his name. I can see Twitter. I'm literally checking on Twitter because I can't think of his name. I can see his face. I know what he looks like. If he was in a lineup, I'd be able to pick him out.
You'll find him there eventually.
When you go, oh god, what's the likelihood you go into Tipperary GAA and they're following 257 people? Oh god, what's his name? It's not Shane because I'm not researching Shane. I'm getting him confused with someone else.
What sport are we talking?
GAA, Tipperary hurler, played midfield for Tip, wore a yellow helmet. Isn't that terrible? It's like brain gone. They would have been playing back in 2013 when they won. Didn't they win in 13?
It's not like Lara Corbett or one of them, or
Oh no, not
no,
Lara Corbett.
no.
Is it Shane McGrath? Shane McGrath.
Shane McGrath. Okay.
He's brilliant. He's on Team FM. He's very good.
Okay, take him. So, if Susan Erna got sacked in the morning and you had a choice of Angela Ann Downey or Brian Cody, who would you take? Not that she's going to be sacked, obviously, but
I think I'd take Angela Ann.
Okay. What's the strangest or funniest thing that's ever been shouted at you from the sideline by anybody, supporter, manager, doesn't matter who?
Oh my God. This runs out in my head straight away. We had one manager who called a girl over to the sideline and he said, Orla, stay here beside me. And Orla was like, what are you talking about? And then I actually could have been Aisling Brennan taking the free.
Okay.
So the free was about to come in and he just pushed Orla back onto the field and started going, Aisling, hit the ball to Orla. Orla run. And it was like, genuinely, it was something you'd see in an under 14 match. It was horrific.
That is hilarious. That is bizarre. I've not heard one like that before. Definitely not. If there was a GAA transfer market in the morning, who'd be the one player you'd bring in for Offaly Camogie? You can get rid of all the Brennans can be shipped out. Don't worry, I'll get rid of them.
Go through the teams in your head. I'd like someone like Grace Walsh, someone like attacking defender. I think kind of that's the way GAA has gotten, that kind of Limerick Hurst model.
Yeah.
So someone like Grace Walsh, like an attacking wing back, or Sarah Durvan from Galway. She's the sturdiest fullback I've ever seen, ever.
Yeah. Denise Gall's name has come up a few times as well, actually, with the Camogie. Yeah, that's the Kilkenny one seems to be a common trait. Who's the best hurl maker?
Yeah, we need more scorers than defenders. Actually,
yeah, fair enough. Who's the best hurl maker?
Oh, Brian Gatt. He lives a couple of K up the road from me, and I've tried a couple of other ones, but I always go back to him.
Okay, fair enough. Studs or moles?
Moles, because then you know it's summertime.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Sweeper, no sweeper, or how many sweepers?
Oh my God! I'm actually going to call St. Ryan's Camogie on this. St. Ryan's Camogie used 2 sweepers. They used Grania Dole and Roisin Egan, and I had to mark both of them last year in the club championship. So no sweepers. Right.
Okay. St. Ryan's, you're getting called out here. Last one. Your favourite sport outside of the GAA?
I better say athletics. I hate running, but all my boyfriend's family are runners. They were on Ireland's Fittest Family before, so I better say running.
Okay, I'll take that. And last question, the $1 million question. In your lifetime of 25 years, who has been the greatest GAA player in your lifetime?
Oh, that's a good question. That's quite difficult because in my 25 years time Ireland or Offaly was winning All Irelands, but I'm too young to remember it. So I watched back like Lochra Gale and video clips.
You can count them if you want to.
Ireland winning. But they're memories that I almost are forced on me because they've been like TV programs. There's a commentary on them. That's a difficult question. Male or female? That's not a quick fire question.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've had a mix of answers. All right, I've had everything from like Brian Fenton to Conor Callaghan. Denise Masterson's come up a couple of times.
Yeah. You see, I like growing up. I was a massive fan of like Richie Hogan. I thought he was just incredible. And then he got injured, obviously. So in most recent years, he hasn't been the caliber player that he is. So he was someone I always aspired to. And then probably in Camogie, it would probably be someone like Aoife Murray or Gemma O'Connor from Cork.
Okay.
Probably swing a little bit more to Gemma O'Connor because she was just always there. She always popped up when they needed her. You know, and she's she's not outspoken. You know, she just does her interviews after the game. She's not controversial in any sense. She just goes out and plays. Probably her. Yeah, probably Gemma O'Connor.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's brilliant. Anne-Marie, thanks so much for coming on. I'm unbelievably appreciative of you giving up your time, and it's been great crack as well. I've learned plenty about Drumcullen and Offaly Camogie as well that I thought I might have known, but I clearly didn't know about. And I'll remove the Brennans off the team fairly soon. I can get.
Oh no, we want them. We definitely want them, and we need them. Yeah, they are incredible. You know.
Okay.
I'm telling you, St. Killian's Day is coming. They will be county champions sooner rather than later.
Okay, I'll let them know that.
They'll have to bring Mammy Brennan to Coppers then.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll find some way to get to it. Yeah. Anne-Marie, look, I'll let you go, and thanks a million. I'm unbelievably appreciative of you coming on. It's been serious crack, and I'll give you a shout before it goes out. As I said, we might leave it for a while, and because I've got plenty coming up, and we'll find a good time and get you in the spotlight. So
no problem. It was great. I really appreciate it. Actually, so good to get out of my own head for a while and go back into memories, you know, that kind of don't exist unless you're looking for them.
Yeah,
so it's good.
A few people have said that to me. I had Davy Burke's advice to me mostly was, he said, you have a brilliant, you know, niche kind of thing going on. He said, just don't let anyone come on and talk about championship structure. And I said, no, I won't, don't worry. So that's my main thing to avoid. But yeah, no, it is nice. Like everyone has kind of said, bringing back the memories kind of, and having the chats, and just, you know, not coming on, you know, wondering if you're going to be quizzed on something political and topical and then your name's on the paper the next day. Like, I just don't want any of that. So yeah, I like the kind of chilled way of doing it. And it kind of reminds of GAA in the 90s and early 2000s. Like, you know, it was just the crack and there was no bullshit with it. So it's nice just to get a bit of that again. But yeah, look, I'll keep in touch anyway. I'll let you know when it's going up. But I hope all's good down in Offaly, and I'll chat to you soon, hopefully. So
no problem.
Yeah, thanks, Anne-Marie. Yeah, mind yourself. Take it easy, all right? I'll talk to you soon. Yeah,
thanks,
see you later.
bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Coming up next week on the Loaf of Bread GA podcast, we cut into our next slice. Next week is our final week of Loaf 1, and it will be Slice 21, the final whistle. I have the chats with 3 referees who will bring us through the final moments and the additional time of the first loaf. Referees Barry Kelly, Niall Ward and Ken Bangy Gunning. We chat everything from taking on All-Ireland finals, the free against Bubbles O'Dwyer in 2014, red cards in county finals, back talk from the nephew on the pitch, and a very special referee banter section where listeners have sent in their own anecdotes for the men in the middle. You do not want to miss some of these unique GAA tales. That's Slice 21, the final whistle. The final slice of Loaf 1. That's next Thursday from 9 a.m. Until then, I'll leave you with this Offaly GAA moment from 1994.
Jack Boothman, first time as GAA president to present the Liam McCarthy Cup to Martin Hanamy of St. Rina's in Offaly. Offaly are the All-Ireland hurling champions for the 3rd time ever. What a day.
Slánigi.